Hello and welcome to the AstraCast. My name is here tonight by
DarkMouse
and Mataspore.
Awesome. So tonight we are going to not 40k. Well, we are going to be discussing Warhammer Fantasy, and before we jump into that, shall we just have a quick? Dealer cults are looking absolutely awesome.
They've had the new vehicle previewed. It looks pretty nice. It follows the same theme so far as the 4x4 quad bike, which is full. Yeah, the quad bike and the bikes. So it's kind of like a speed freaky type, low dragster type thing.
I'm just being blown away with the range at the moment. I think when they drop, we make kind of a range review for it all. That might be quite cool to do.
If it wasn't for the fact that I'm a horrible purist, I would say they're pretty cool.
Well, I do have a kill team of them, and we shall see.
Yeah, I've been a terribly bad podder and not really been looking at the news because I have been the sick and the working, and they are terrible things.
Entirely fair. I've just kind of vaguely kept on stuff, maybe not as much as I have in previous.
I tend to keep an eye out for anything new and interesting. I mean, this week there's not actually that much on there. I took a look quickly after I finished work. Yeah. There's the Gene Stealer Cult preview that we've got on there. I think it's Regiment Standard's birthday today.
Yeah.
So happy birthday, Regiment Standard. We would have gotten you a cake, but there's too many of you to feed.
And every Imperialist on the article will have the same birthday, which...
That's probably because it's easier for the commissars to remember than the other 3 million sods who've got birthdays.
I'm not sure commissars. I think it's definitely the Department Munitor scribes probably have a slightly easier life.
Possibly, but then the commissars know that if they've got to shoot anybody, it can't be someone whose birthday it is.
So, you don't actually have a blank space to write in when someone's birthday is. You just have a stamp that has the same date on it.
It's pre-filled.
The other thing that's a bit of a hot take, I saw the videos from Chatmaster Valrak and Kirioth when I got in, is Forge World's made a boo-boo. They've clearly pressed update on the Custodes page, and you know the banner bit that appears at the top of the faction with models?
Yeah.
It was an unreleased model. Well, 3 of them. I will just quick find the pictures. But Custodes jetpacks.
Oh, with the wings, yeah, I've seen pictures of them all over the internet now.
They have... I've already seen a meme of them. They've been turned into the Hawkmen from...
oh dear,
Flash Gordon.
Yep.
Which I thought was absolutely thick.
If they make one of them look like Brian Blessed, we're all in for a wonderful time.
They are all bright.
Of course they are. Of course they are. That's fantastic.
So this is the meme, because obviously it's a real thing.
Oh, yes.
So that is... I am waiting for that conversion to a...
That is truly, truly wonderful.
Someone already has a lot of Coward and Overlord heads on standby, ready for when these things drop.
Well, then what do they actually look like?
I am furiously Googling to try and find one that hasn't got water mode.
They look like that. That's how they're releasing those heads.
I would be happy if that were true, but I don't think that it is.
I think it'd be hilarious. Think of all the Space Marine flesh fight going, that's not what they look like. They don't have beards like that. They don't yell like that. That's not what the Custodes look like. Wah.
And that is what they actually like. So that was the boo-boo someone shared. Which,
that's far less interesting.
Yeah, they're all right.
They don't really scream Custodes.
It's the fact they've got, like, fabric trousers, I think.
It's not just that, but the Custodes, when you think of the Guardians of the Emperor, you think of these really heavily built dudes, and that's the image that they've put across with these guys. Even across all the rest of Forge World releases, they've all had that same aesthetic of they're heavily built, they've got the huge armor plates, the really intricate and flowing armor, the glaives and such. And even on the guys on the jet bikes, these things that do kind of need to be pretty light to get off the ground, even with the anti-grav generator, and they're still built like slabs of ceramite.
So my one counterpoint to that would, even then they're still would be the Sagittari Guard. These boys are a little less armoured, but they're still based on the Custodes kit.
Yeah, but that still does not look like the guys with wings.
No, that's still pretty heavily built, though. I mean, yeah, they might be a little slimmer, but
Yeah, they have lost a lot. Also, no, I don't think they do. No, never mind. I thought they only had like one shoulder guard, but they don't. So,
I mean, I'm sure we might change our minds when we. That's right. The Horus Heresy week, 2nd, 3rd of Feb. Ooh, that's expensive. £75.
oh dear.
It's Forge Roll, and I'd be disappointed if it was anything less than 70.
I have yet to buy anything from Forge World. There is a reason for that.
So I've got upgrade kits. I've got the Ulcer. I have 2 Horus Heresy figures. Centurion with early Crusade honors from Marine Herald.
Cool.
Gorn Halfhorn and a Grendel for
Oh,
Christmas.
yeah, the squad.
Okay.
The Beastmen last year, and I got. And I have the Skyon on Brother bought 2 nights. I bought the Sky. Well, they did the promo, and I bought.
Cool.
Excellent.
Now, I have. I got a weapons upgrade pack for the Goliath gangs and the Asher gangs, and Iros Slagmist, the what I'm calling now as the Water Guild bounty hunter.
Yes.
He was cool. He was the only one that really screamed at me and went, "Yes, have me. I'm awesome."
I kind of had to buy the squad. I mean, I really liked the Beastman. I thought he was, and I'd already bought him, and I was like,
You had to have the Space Dwarf.
I had to have the Sporf.
They dropped the squat. He couldn't help himself.
That's it. Let's just get progressively more filthy.
I do have a very soup of second, maybe that I was given by the school Warhammer.
How many editions in did squats make it before they realised what a terrible idea they were?
I think they disappeared after.
See, I don't think they were a bad idea. Space Dwarfs are kind of cool. It's a good idea, and it helps just open up the world a bit more. Are they abhumans? Are they their own race? It'd be more interesting if they're their own race rather than abhumans, but you know.
Well, yeah, but they've already got like the super techie thing. They're the orangutans, Jakaro, weaponsmiths.
Jakaro.
Make an army of them. That sounds cool.
I mean, I was a big fan of the 90s cartoon Space Monkeys.
I remember that.
So I was a little bit tempted. Another kill team, a Jakari kill team.
Oh god,
that is awesome.
In my brain to do, if I'm thinking about it. If you've not seen the animated series Space Monkey,
oh dear,
you should go and dig up highly illegal videos on the internet for it just to watch it.
I'm tempted to put there is a playlist on YouTube. I am tempted to the show notes, so you have no excuse.
There are a lot of 80s and 90s cartoons on YouTube because nobody cares enough to do anything about it.
Yeah, you can't actually. There isn't a legal way of getting it.
That's because they came out at a point before proper recording. Bless you.
There we go. Yeah. There is the first ode.
Yes. Yeah, that's wonderful. Oh, that brings back memories.
That's a villain that never should have lived past the first episode.
It's voiced by Malcolm McDowell.
Who?
Hang on. It's got some actually big name voice actors in it. It's a bit weird thing we kept it because I mean, the main bad guy is voiced by you got his name.
Oh, Michael Dawn.
So
I have no idea how or why I know that.
I am the Trekkie. I should have known that.
I feel we may have gone a little bit off.
Yeah, yes, we have to say. I am loving where this is going. But
sorry,
I was kind of just wondering how much longer this.
From the, yeah.
I do apologise. I just revealed my love of obscure 90s.
Rip the conversation out of Brad's hands and put it back on the track it was supposed to be on.
It's all right. No one knows your real name, Brad.
It's all right. No one knows that. It's fine. We're good. I've got a secret name, which I kind of like.
Oh dear.
Right. So we have. So there's no other news really. Shall we launch into our Warhammer Fantasy Age of Sigmar? These words and why should I? So, as I'm being the gobby one, as you quickly rattle off my experience with the whole Age of Sigmar Warhammer Fantasy, I've never really clicked with it. I think because deep down I'm more of a sci-fi guy than a fantasy guy. I've tried to get into fantasy Warhammer Fantasy Battles a few times. I have the start of an Empire army, the start of a Dwarfs army, a High Elves army. There is a slight link with my Empire army as the Tab clan with painting because that was the set. I have a kind of the Reich River because I found the rule Warhammer Ahoy. which really old games, fan-made game systems were based around Karak Baraka, which I believe, and my elves were based around the Orphean Sea Guard. So I think there might be a link between, and it might be boats. I may have left 40k, but I'm still playing.
Yeah, there seems to be a water theme there.
Yeah,
There's definitely a nautical link.
Played a little bit of Age of Sigmar when it first. Not really. The closest I've to getting into it when the Caradron Overlords, that kind of marries two things I really like: boats, steampunky airships. In my play for the airship, that was the entire justification behind using that path.
If it's tied between multiple factions, you got to go with the idea that you love the most. And if that means a steampunky airship, then you go for the steampunky airship, even if the Brotherhood hates you because you don't hold their tenets.
So yeah, that's my entire. I've got bits of fantasy. Unsurprisingly, I have Dreadfleet, which was sat there still on the spruce that.
Sat there looking longingly at the outside world, but unable to join it.
Yeah, they might become when I start painting my guard. They might become I need to stop painting fits models.
Objective markers. Nautical themed objective markers. There you go.
Well, from what I've remembered, the game is not bad, so we might do a
Dreadfleet's quite fun.
Review for a game that's supposed to pick up at some.
Yeah, you should all go out and buy it. Oh wait, you can't.
If you spare £500 laying and would like to be fleet.
Yeah. Alternatively, if you have a spare £500 lying around and want to get fleeced, my account is always open.
Yeah, feel free to send that to your Tinker Tailor Sponge Patreon at See the Show. So. I think if we go to Danny next, because I know Mataspore has a lot to cannoning into what your plans do. So, DarkMouse.
Sure. I did a little bit of fantasy a long time ago. This was pre-college for me, so I'm talking. Hang on a minute, let me do some quick maths. Okay, maybe not some quick maths, but 10 plus years ago, 10, 12 years ago. I don't even know what edition that would have been. But I did some introductory games, played a few things, lost pretty much every game I played. I had fun with it though. I picked up Lizardmen at the time. Those of you who didn't do fantasy and are just familiar with Age of Sigmar as it stands, that's the Seraphon. But I stopped doing them after a while because the rulebook was the same size as the 40k rulebook, and I enjoyed 40k more, to put simply. And then, as far as that was the end of fantasy for me. As far as Age of Sigmar, oh no, it wasn't quite. I was going to get into it at uni. I was playing a Tomb King's army. But again, it was the size of the rulebook compared to the 40k one. They were both the exact same size, and I didn't want to have to memorise that tome again.
Yeah, my brother's got quite enforced to do.
Yeah, I'm actually kind of glad I didn't go through with the Tomb Kings in the end, because with the advent of Age of Sigmar, all the Tomb Kings got blown up. Well, I don't think they got blown up fluff-wise, but they don't do them as models or rules anymore. Which is unfortunate, because they were a cool concept, but yeah, I can kind of see why they did it. As far as Age of Sigmar goes, I don't play as much as I used to, probably because my armies aren't fully painted, and it's kind of more of a motivating factor if they're all painted. I've got Demons, Maggotkin of No, which is mostly my demonic force, with a few mortals thrown in for flavour. Then I've got a Sylvaneth force, all Dreadwood. I think those are my two main forces for Age of Sigmar, and they've played pretty well. I think Age of Sigmar is quite a slick system, and in my experience, once they got the points values in, before that point, it's kind of like, how do you play?
Oh God, yeah.
You take 30 wounds of stuff, I'll take 30 wounds of stuff, and we'll see who's got the biggest strongest creature at the end of it. Was basically it. But it plays pretty nicely. It helps that they released all the rules for free, and that's still a model they have. If you want all like the battalions and stuff that go with it, you've got to pay for that. But just to get into the bare bones game, all you got to buy is the models and miniatures, which is quite nice. It's in its second edition now, Age of Sigmar, so it's slowly growing up. But yeah, I think it's I don't do much with the Age of Sigmar lore side of things. I think it's interesting, but only because now I don't have to troll through hundreds of thousands of Warhammer fantasy books trying to catch myself up on the lore, like you do for 40k as well. Instead, I can just look through what's probably now 30 or 40 books and get pretty much caught up pretty quickly in comparison. That's about as far as the lore goes for me.
Fair enough. Yeah. Well, the lore goes a bit further for me. In fact, I have an entire spiel about it. You get to hear a bit later. But if we're just talking about the history of fantasy and Age of Sigmar, I started fantasy probably about the same time I started 40k, which would be many years ago, a depressing number of years ago. Oh God, I want to say 14, 15 years, maybe longer. And well, I'm a bit of a purist with it because I have only ever owned and only ever played Skaven. There's a reason for that. Skaven are fun because things keep breaking. But I enjoyed old fantasy, mostly because it was, I don't know how to put this without sounding insulting towards 40k. It was a very, very, very strategic game. Like, the way round your units were facing mattered. How many ranks you had mattered, all that fun stuff. Breath weapons were legit terrifying.
I don't think that's insulting to 40k because that does add an extra tactical layer and does make it that bit more strategic. And it makes you think a lot more, like the same with skirmish games where you have a lot less miniatures, but the way they're facing makes a difference. So I don't think that's an insult to 40k or to 40k players at all. Just want to put it out there.
Fair enough. Awesome. Good.
I'd say they're different game systems. With 40k is more of a squad-based tactical game. You have less units, whereas fantasy seems to be more grand scale strategic events.
It certainly doesn't have to be grand scale. I've had interesting games of fantasy where each side has about like 3 units. I think I've played one where I had 2 cannons, 1 big unit, and they had a single unit of knights that they had sunk all their points into, and they won, like, quite convincingly. No, that's the thing. Yeah, old fantasy. I understand completely why people probably wouldn't get into it that easily because it was a very different beast to 40k back then, regardless of what editions you're comparing. And then, that blew up, which I'll talk about a bit later, because that's lore. Yeah, that blew up, and then you got Age of Sigmar, and a lot more people who previously most have been playing 40k got into it then, I think, because, at least in part, mechanics-wise, there's very, very little difference in how the two games play. And yeah, I mean, I stuck with Skaven for Age of Sigmar. Again, they're just as fun. They have some more toys, which is always fun. And I was a bit sad when Age of Sigmar first came out because it felt like it lost a lot of what made it unique. But I've played a lot of Age of Sigmar since then, and I've had a wonderful time doing it, so I can't really complain that much. And that's pretty much my history with them. There we go.
History. So now we're not going to have a bit of a chat. I'm looking for Mataspore to convince me that I should give a damn about realms or whatever else.
I don't know if I'm going to convince you. It started out as an attempt to convince you, and it mostly turned into a rant about why I prefer Age of Sigmar lore to current 40k lore. That's pretty much it. But yeah, I could start that now if you want.
Go for it. I have.
Oh, good.
I have a Steiner beer. So,
Okay, let's talk for a bit then. And yes, this is me reading off a script, so well, it might go better. It might also be incredibly dull. Apologies in advance if it is. Here we go. Right, to start off with, important to understand, especially with me, is that lore matters more to me than, well, a lot of the other stuff. Putting the models together and painting, it doesn't hold that much appeal. And don't get me wrong, I certainly enjoy the game. I wouldn't have got into it at all if I didn't enjoy the game. But the thing that really sucked me in at the very, very beginning was and always has been the fluff. If the story's no good, then I don't care. And if I don't care, it doesn't matter how good the mechanics are. I said this to Brad a little while ago. Don't know if you remember it, say a few weeks ago now. Warhammer 40k is mostly the grim darkness of the far future, occasionally laced with a bit of silliness and glory.
Yep.
The silliness mostly being the orcs. Age of Sigmar and Old Fantasy are silliness and glory, occasionally laced with just a little dash of grimdark. And when 40k announced the Gathering Storm, I got my hopes up. I thought that might change. I thought something not identical to Brighthammer. Check 1D4chan if you want to know what Brighthammer is. I didn't think anything like that would pop up, but I thought something might be able to even the playing field against Chaos. And I know there's all the jokes and stuff that Chaos that never seems to really succeed or do anything and all that, but well, if you read any 40k book from before the Gathering Storm, novel or codex, without exception, Chaos is just... Oh, there you go. Brad's got the link for Brighthammer. Without exception, Chaos is portrayed as the creeping, nasty force that you can fight it, you can stop it, but you can't repel it. Things taken or touched by Chaos can't ever be regained or returned to what they were. There's this like nebulous, ill-explained corruption that all but ensures that Chaos is going to win eventually, because you can't get rid of it. So even a tiny minor victory for Chaos is one more step towards that inevitable end. And while there were certainly hints about positive things hiding in the warp as well, and we see plenty of examples of psychers doing good things, there never really seems to be anything that can properly fight back. And the reason I got my hopes up is because at the very start of the Gathering Storm, there's a scene with Celestine floating in the warp and, empowered to go back into reality and fight against Chaos by the golden light of duty and hope. That's a good start. That's a really good start. And then it amounted to nothing. Because demons are pretty much a manifestation of the negative emotions of living things. And there are bloody uncountable millions of them that can never truly be destroyed because they're all just part of some weird, ill-explained greater whole. Now, Celestine comes along as the floaty dreamer and reveals herself to be much the same thing, tearing herself away from a whole, empowered by emotion, all that jazz. But she isn't an opposing force to the demon. She specifies that she used to be mortal, along with that so very much whisper of, "Oh, to be mortal again," after, of course, pointing out how much it sucked to be mortal before. And stresses that every time she sallies forth, she's weakened and eventually will not come back, because you just got to get that depression up there. And I read the rest of The Gathering Storm, all 3 books, and don't get me wrong, I liked it very, very much, and I might still get my wish for a balancing force if the Yinkan gets big enough to finally smack down Slanesh. But as of the end of that story, did I get the balancing force I forgot? Did I get hope? No. No. The galaxy split in 2. Big Bobby G is having a secret meltdown. Cool is busy setting up a secret second heresy to go with the Second Imperium. Their Inaria fucked off somewhere to do something. Yeah. So it's not really a bad ending, but I was hoping to get a fair fight, and instead they threw some more shiny things at me and tightened the thumb screws ever tighter. Because they saw that great big bucket of heroes deciding to not go gentle into that good night and decided, you know what? There's a bit more to that quote. Let's see if we can really get people raging about the dying of the light as well. So they turned up the darkness level 1,000-fold and left us with a bunch of angry people holding onto a few desperate hints that there might be a way to turn this around and save the galaxy. Now that can work. I mean, the more trials and tribulations you put the heroes through, the sweeter it is when they finally achieve a meaningful victory. But they're never going to achieve a meaningful victory because this is bloody 40k. The status quo is, and always has been, the galaxy is most likely doomed and everyone is fighting. That's it. They didn't actually change that with Gathering Storm. They just changed the background picture. But there does exist another Games Workshop property that did change that, and that's Age of Sigmar. And they brought back something into the playing field that I'd honestly given up on seeing in 40k. they brought back, and this needs a capital H, hope. See, lore-wise, not mechanics-wise certainly, but lore-wise, the old fantasy world was in many ways a microcosm of the 40k one, except it's medieval magical times, and a few of the races are different. Chaos is at the poles of the world, held back by a magic sink in the equator, draining away all the stuff it needed to exist, but the nebulous corruption marker was still there. There's no cure. The wastes are slowly growing. Anything that gets corrupted by chaos, you just got to put them down because there ain't no way to fix it. And then, well, that eventual triumph that chaos was always slowly creeping towards arrived. Chaos won. The planet literally blew up. Everybody's souls just kind of went flying everywhere, and you got demons dancing in the void. Except, well, Big Daddy Sigmar wasn't having any of that shit. No. He got himself a new dragon pal, who's made of stars and restarts realities as his day job, smashed his way into the 8 winds of magic, found all the other gods who were kicking around, pulled off a creation myth, making it the 4 roughly equal factions of chaos, order, death, and destruction, as opposed to, chaos, not chaos, and tyrannids. Built himself a city in the Wind of Heavens, and, well, things got pretty awesome. And going off on one about all the things I like about AOS would just about quadruple the length of this rant, so I'm not going to do that. So I'm going to boil it down to 2 quotes. Now, one of these quotes is official, everyone will recognize it, and it relates to 40k. The second is from a fan website and relates to Age of Sigmar. I think it's a quote from a song. The first one is, "In the grim darkness of the far future, there is only war." The second one is, "Here, at last, we can say tomorrow without fear." 40k lost something, I think, when it, or, never had something when it decreed that there could only be war. Because when war is everywhere, when there's no chance of peace, and any day the world you're living on could be swept aside by whatever non-imperial force happened by that particular day, then what exactly is the point? You have nothing to defend except your resources to make more war. You don't fight for eventual peace because by this point nobody has any idea what true peace really is. The sheer scale of the destruction and loss happening every single day runs to horrifying levels, and the only hope humanity really clings to is faith in the Emperor, a faith he absolutely never wanted. When there's only war, then safety, hope, is nothing but a fleeting delusion. And I've got a few links here that I'm going to post into the chat for you guys so you can look at some pictures. Copy that. This is the first one. Now, if you look at that, that's a piece of artwork featured for Sigmar's Kingdom in the Wind of Heavens.
Nice.
I'm going to guess it's got a fairly familiar kind of style.
It's the Imperial Palace without...
Yeah. I was going to say it looks a bit like that. The second link.
Yes.
Yeah, and I mean how everyone knows what a Space Marine looks like, right? I don't need to post a link for that.
No, I'm looking. I've
I've
got 10 on my 10.
I've eaten many of them, but just can't remember what.
Well, yeah, this is what a Stormcast Eternal looks like. So again, you can see the similarity.
Well, there is that joke of Sigmarine rather.
Yes, exactly. But here's the thing: they look like Space Marines, and that's just about it. Because a Space Marine is a bundle of brainwashing and genetic engineering designed to turn them into perfect weapons for the Imperium. The conditioning is so severe that if they retain a part of their humanity, they become exceptionally vulnerable to corruption. Let us not forget that it was feelings of pressure and neglect, of all things, that led Horus to screw everything up in the first place. Meanwhile, a Stormcast is the soul of anybody brave enough to stand and fight for their fellow man. If an old housewife died trying to bring her rolling pin down onto a cultist's head, that's an Eternal. If a farmhand in a militia set his pitchfork against a pack of fleshhounds and refused to run when all hope seemed lost, that's an Eternal.
See, I think that would make an amazing storyline right there. Is the old lady with the rolling pin who became a Stormcast Eternal, but she kept her rolling pin. And it became gilded and had lightning.
But yeah, exactly. That's the point. They're not human beings that have been turned into weapons. They're, if anything, the epitome of humanity, human bravery. When it mattered, they put their lives on the line, and that dedication, far from being a meaningless statistic on a far-off planet that nobody cares about, actually mattered. It was rewarded. And on a grander scale, the Imperial Palace of Terror is a huge Gothic masterpiece laden with guns and defences, built over the result of thousands of years of civil war construction, bearing the scars of a 10,000-year-old heresy. Majestic and imposing, sure, but safe? No. If it was safe, it wouldn't need all those guns. Holding the source of the Astronomicon essentially makes it, well, it's a big old flashlight.
Food.
It's cool. Yeah, exactly. Makes it a big old target for anyone who does not wish the Imperium well or really, really, really wants to eat stuff. And that there is a pretty big list. Now contrast that with Sigmar's kingdom. Because the style was the same, sure, but did you see any guns there? Granted, it's fantasy, so there wouldn't be guns anyway, but...
I don't know, they could have huge cannons and mortars and ballista and stuff.
Oh, yeah, fair enough. But the point is, they're not there.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, that thing is, well, again, style-wise, it's similar, but it's fresh, I guess. It was formed from nothingness. It's literally in a wind of magic. It's a god's will made manifest, an actual God's will made manifest. And it very much is the haven that it looks like. For a very long time, it was the only safe haven as chaos was rampaging through the other seven winds. And then, while they raged, Sigmar took advantage of the peace that he gained. He forged his armies, then he flung open the gates, he sent forth his forces, and most importantly, it worked. Chaos got kicked out. Slaanesh got tricked into a fucking bottle, and most importantly, they reclaimed territory. I'm sorry for all the bleeps that are going to have to occur for all this, had concrete proof that chaos could be beaten. Not delayed, not stopped, not temporarily held back, straight up defeated. And I don't mean that there should be some sort of final victory for any side. That would only end the game. As it stands right now, magic is going screwy, the dead are routinely standing up and walking around, endless living spells flying all over the place. There are all sorts of whispers about Slaanesh coming back, that the forging of the Eternals isn't perfect, secret plans to infiltrate the realm of heavens, and much more besides. But the key difference here is that now the good guys, with big quotation marks there because Warhammer is just as great as 40k, have something to fight for. And don't get me wrong, there's a place for darkness. There really, really is. I mean, hell, I play Dark Elder. I have no room to complain about an abundance of really dark shit. But, and part of this might be to do with my personal life as well, I've had enough darkness. I've had enough of desperate struggle and fated one man against 1,000 last stands. I want hope. I want the rebirth of the light. I want the wizard arriving precisely when he means to, cresting the hill with that sun behind him and crashing down on the fucking Uruk Horde. But I want that. And of course I'm speaking in general terms. I mean, like I said, there's plenty of darkness in Age of Sigmar as well. Without it, there couldn't be any story. But I haven't cared about a story from Games Workshop. I haven't cared as much for a story from Games Workshop than I have when I read some of the lore about Age of Sigmar. There's better ways to say it, but it made me happy to read. And the 40k stuff, well, the 40k stuff made me excited to read. It filled me with anticipation to read, but didn't make me happy. So, yeah. There you go. That's the end of the spiel. So, sorry that took a while.
No, it was... I never really considered that with... I probably took a look at it when there wasn't. I just maybe bought to the meme of Sigmarines too much. I already play Space Marines. Yeah.
Games Workshop most definitely has a design template. Yeah. They look way too similar. I wish they didn't.
And yet
They
there's no
certainly
Age of
do.
Sigmar Tyranids. And yet there's no Age of Sigmar Tyranids. This is highly disappointing for their design template.
Well, no, there's Age of Sigmar Skaven.
That's not the same.
But yeah, that's the angle that I come at it from. The game, the models, all that. They're spices to add to the core meal that is the story. Because I like the story. I buy all the codexes because I want to read the fluff. I don't tend to look at the mechanics all that much, not unless I plan on playing that army. And as we've established, I only play Skaven, so that's a very small codex list. I wish they'd make one for Scryer. They made one for effing Pestilence, and that's about the only clan that I don't play. So that's wonderful.
I'll be saying about the coming of hope. I think people hoped that was going to happen with this Crusade.
Yeah.
It almost happened. Bits of the.
Yeah.
I think. See where they go with the Vigilus books, because that's my kind of hope. Because we do have harshly is the Dark Imperium.
Yes, the Dark Imperium.
Whereas you've got slightly less terrifying. I agree. I think Philmageddon and all this. But at the end of the day, Abaddon has achieved the greatest victory for Chaos. Maybe even on the level of horror, has split the Imperium.
Yes, and I would just say that, to be perfectly honest, if they wanted that victory to have more impact, they would have had anyone but Abaddon leading the goddamn charge.
I think
Feobadon.
Yeah,
Abaddon the Armless.
He needs something. Because at the moment, Chaos Undivided is a little bit, well, crap.
Yeah.
It doesn't really tend to happen. It's said in all the lore, the four gods do not agree on pretty much anything, except for when there's something huge and momentous about to happen that they are engineering. The Horus Heresy was one of them. Abaddon, since then, is not in and of himself the four Chaos gods' wet dream.
Nope. You want to know who is? You want to know who is? Because he's got a name, and he's from Age of Sigmar. He's called Archaon the Everchosen.
Yeah.
And he is effing awesome.
Doesn't he want to be... He doesn't want to... He doesn't just wants to be the god of Chaos Undivided.
He basically wants to bring the whole house crashing down is the end goal for him, I think. And I'm pretty sure the Chaos Gods know that, but I don't think they care.
No, they won't. Because that's then gods of chaos, basically, aren't they?
But yeah, even forget the horrible murder machine that he is in Age of Sigmar. He was around in Standard Fantasy too, and he was damn cool even then. I mean, nearly as indestructible on the table, and lore-wise, you had the whole story about him finding the eight artifacts of chaos, and then having to face all the challenges of all the different gods. Like he walked away from Slaanesh, not like a demonette trying to tempt him. No. He had to walk away from Slaanesh. He had to fight Khorne's chosen champion, this massive bloodthirster, had to solve the riddles of Tzeentch, and had to take pretty much every disease that Nurgle could throw at him. I had to do all this at the same time. That's how you become a champion of chaos.
So I think the problem that Games Workshop have had with their lore styles is that they gave Archaon purpose and a path. Abaddon was just kind of, let's rain random destruction and despair on the Imperium with no real aim. It's like that small child that you're like, what do you want to do today? I don't know, stuff.
Oh, but don't you know, DarkMouse, he was secretly blowing up the magical pylons.
I actually don't mind having that bit in the lore. It shows that they're willing to go, okay, we want to do something awesome. And we haven't really covered much of what he's done, just that he's done it.
I wouldn't mind it if it didn't reek of ass-pull. If there was anything in previous works to suggest he had a secondary motive, cool. But there isn't. They pulled it out of their ass to make him work better.
So it's bad that when you said Aspel, I thought of cider.
Ha!
Is this because 40k? We've been stuck at 991.
Yes.
We've been stuck at the midnight, and
Yeah.
the game has been in.
Yeah, like everything that goes on is happening at the same time because the galaxy is really, really, really big.
Yeah.
Yep.
But now
See-
we are Plague War, Dark Imperium 2.
Mm.
We are midnight has. We are in the
Yep.
next count up to midnight, basically.
And with a horrific scream of rust and protest, the gears finally start moving again.
Yep, because somebody finally learned how to turn the key at the Games Workshop.
Yeah. And so we might, if people are making the comments you made, it does be an overall win.
Oh yeah, that's what I said. I don't want either side to win. If anyone wins, then the game ends.
That would
That's
actually
no
quite an
good.
interesting announcement from Games Workshop. By the way, the Emperor won. We're not doing any more productions anymore. We're disbanding. Bye, guys.
Okay, one, the galaxy is at peace. No more war games. Not allowed.
Chaos solidified. No one can go anywhere. The Tower now your best friends. People like Thanos. The Tyranids have eaten every. Oh wait, the Tyranids have eaten everybody.
It would almost be interesting too, because I if the kind of the full title, so if they're going to campaigns in Imperium Nihilus in the Dark Imperium, does that mean actually take the fight into the Dark, retake the Dark? Because that could be a good storyline, forcing back the darkness and reclaiming these Indominus Crusades should have been.
I think that's highly likely, because I think, just to build off what Chandler said earlier about the 40k law not really having any, it can beat back the darkness or having any hope. I think the difference between the change from Fantasy to Age of Sigmar and the change from M41 to M42 in 40k is that Games Workshop are doing a lot more dragged out in 40k. In Age of Sigmar, they literally blew up the world to shake things up. And that got a really bad reception from a lot of people. And I think that they were a bit terrified of doing that with 40k. Obviously, it's more difficult for them because there's no magic involved. Everything will just become the warp, which they've already established no human can survive in. So that would be the end of 40k for them.
Well, they could just pull exactly what Age of Sigmar did, because nobody was alive when the planet blew up.
No, but they had magic.
All their magical souls went everywhere.
Yeah, but they had magic and stuff, and not
they,
a lot.
They have magic and stuff in 40k.
Yeah, not all.
They have souls in 40k. They're all in the warp.
Okay, fair enough.
It's a fair point. I think there is a slight with 40k. There is almost like the warp is still strange and chaotic, but just because there's more than it's science fiction more than.
Well, here's the thing, and I don't know if you know this or not, but old fantasy, the world, the planet they were on was in the 40k universe. It was just locked inside a warp storm.
Yes, I think I had. Wasn't there at the end time?
It's how orcs got there. Some spores crashed down on a meteorite. But yeah, and occasionally you see Chaos champions in Chaos Space Marine armor.
That makes me even more disappointed that no Tyranids found their way there. Games Workshop, why?
Because it's in the middle of a warp storm, and the Hive Fleet isn't stupid.
I don't know. Some of the Hive Fleets. I mean, Behemoth's always been, that derpy middle child.
Yeah. Well, Locke did get sucked into the warp. There's a possibility.
Well, it doesn't matter. The planet's not there anymore. It exploded.
Yeah. That's true.
So,
and now, literally, I guess, if you want to take it literally, all of Age of Sigmar is happening in the warp. That's what the Winds of Magic are. It's the warp.
I think there was. It might have been a map of the realm of chaos. And I think the Eye of Terror on it.
Yeah.
Went from to the Eye of Terror. So there's always been that kind of. I think they have. They are starting to separate.
I've always found, to me personally, that I just think the Chaos Gods literally exist in both sets of realms. Just the one set of Chaos Gods looking from one side to the other, going, I'm kind of bored of playing this game now. Let's play some sci-fi. And that's when their powers wax and wane, is when they're paying attention to a particular universe.
Completely works, yeah.
That does work, actually. Yeah, I'm fine with that interpretation.
It would make perfect
So
sense.
you kind of technically sold me on the just didn't care. You can see I'd read a bit of the Army book universe, but a lot of the Army
If you
books,
do, read Gotrek and Felix.
that's to give a go.
They are a great deal of fun.
I've just never. I was reading all these Army books and Noogle.
Well, also, White Dwarf Grombrindal.
Yeah,
He's from fantasy.
I know he's from fantasy. And the campaigns that appeared in White Dwarf for one campaign, they ran around issue. I thought was fantastic. Where it's and there was stuff like Mordheim always kind of vaguely appealed.
Yeah.
Lots of stuff appealed about fantasy. I think I did struggle with the rules and sci-fi leaning and most of my
yeah. I will admit that, to be honest, because I got into like old fantasy pretty damn early and kind of grew up alongside it, I didn't notice. But now I've played Age of Sigmar for a while. If I dig out some of the old fantasy rule books and flick through, yeah, the rules are a little bit of a cluster beep.
Thank you for bleeping out your own swears. That makes my editing job much easier.
Oh, wonderful!
You've I can't be asked to. Okay.
Well, again, if the main problem was gameplay, that's gone now because Age of Sigmar plays very similarly to New 40k.
To be honest, when the main reason I started Age of Sigmar was because I went, I have a demon army. Age of Sigmar is on round bases, and 7th edition I can't be bothered with anymore. It's getting really clunky, really boring, and the armies I want to play are now no longer fun to play. So I picked up Age of Sigmar, shelved all my 40k, and started playing that until 8th edition dropped.
Okay, that's fair enough. Right, so I do really like 8th edition. I think it's a brilliant game system. So you've kind of not really the mechanics I need to sit.
The mechanics are, how to put this, they're a bit more focused on combat. There's some magic, and if anything, it's even more brutal than 40k because wounds carry over in Age of Sigmar.
Okay. This was the next question to be asked would be. So I've got. Should I? You have kind of sold me on the lore, but how do I the faction for me?
From a personal point of view, I would say it's kind of a mix of read the core rulebook and see and just get a feel for the mechanics, get a feel for the way the rules work and things, and then find an army that you like the models for. Then take a look at the free rules on the app. If you like the way the rules mesh up with what you know about the rulebook and the models look awesome, that would be your faction. Because a lot of people I've seen have gone, I love those models, and they've played them and they've gone, but they don't quite do what I want. But if you take like a mixed mechanic and model approach, it's generally a good way of doing it. I mean, I love playing the Sylvaneth. They're literally glass cannon. Now I normally play a Horde army or a really tough Nurgle army, and I wanted something that could hit but would crumble under pressure. And Sylvaneth work beautifully for it. They're brilliant looking models. And
if he gets to hit first, then the opposing army goes away, or they run away because his army is scary. Literally, they have rules that make them scary, so more people run away.
Yeah.
But if something hits them first, say, I don't know, 3 Storm Fiends pop up within 8 inches and hose down your main unit in warp fire.
That is the extreme case. There's multiple wounds and nothing else, but yes. That will break most things, I'll be honest.
Well, yes, that's why I do it.
Yeah, fair enough. But yeah, that to me is the approach that I would take. But then obviously the way you might find an army is different to what I might do.
Yeah, to be honest, I'd say normally what a unit looks like it can do, it normally can do quite well. So just going on pretty much aesthetics or whatever appeals to you probably won't end that badly, even if you don't get exactly what you want on the tabletop.
It's worth bearing in mind as well that if for example, the new Gloom Spike kits that are out, and I'm going to keep my voice low at this point, I have been tempted into the idea of a Troggoth army, And you can do that because some heroes unlock certain units as what's called battle line, which are your basic troops choices for Age of Sigmar. And you've got to have a certain. It's kind of like old 40k in that you have to have a certain amount of battle line in an army.
That was going to be my next kind of question. With 40k, I now need my 2 troops in a HQ. As a kind of rough starting point to turn the expensive plastic into an army. What is it?
Yeah,
that's easy question for you.
Yeah, I think I think probably what DarkMouse was going to say. You need some units that count as battle line. That's pretty much it. And what can count as battle line is very, very fluid.
Yeah, I mean, for me, for the Sylvaneth point of view, if I take, well, they're just battle line anyway. Let's go with a better example. There you go, Blight Kings for Maggot King of Nurgle. They are not normally a battle line unless you have the Nurgle Allegiance keyword.
Okay.
Which is obviously it's basically just your entire army contains that keyword. No, you don't contain it. You could take a Pusgoyle Blight Lord and have a different unit that is normally never battle line, but it just becomes battle line. So you can pick out these hero combinations that bring up. So I take this hero and this becomes battle line, and it makes it quite a fluid experience. It means you can make that army that is just quite what you want.
Or you can just go right to the other extreme and make it so you don't need battle line, because that's what Scryer engine covens do. My army consists of cannons and giant rat ogre crossbreeds with flamethrowers attached to their arms. Oh, and lightning wizards.
To be honest, you do still need battle line for that. Not for the detachment, but for the army itself.
Yeah, because it makes the Storm Fiends count as battle line.
Oh, yeah, that's fair enough.
Which is lovely.
Oh, no, that's useful, yeah. I forgot about that. God damn it.
But yeah, army made nothing but engine covens. Oh god, coffee.
It can be quite a fluid experience. It just means which units do you like the look of, which of them are battle line and which of them aren't. Are you, for a particular army, are you willing to, say, take the unit that you might not be quite as fond of, but it is battle line, or do you want to go for the army that is might all be battle line, if depending on the army you go for?
Yeah, and I would say that to be honest, the nitty-gritty, the rules are loose enough that pretty much choose what you want it to look like, choose what you want it to do, and you can probably make it work. Maybe not perfectly, but I don't think anybody can get it perfectly what they want. It's loose enough that you can pretty much do whatever you like. It really is.
Yeah, I mean, if you can narrow it down to a keyword and go, I want to go, pull one out my arse, Nurgle. Quite literally, and just go, I'll have a Nurgle allegiance, a Nurgle army. Or you can go more broad and go with the Grand Alliance, in which case you can go, okay, I want to go Nurgle, but I also want stuff from Slaanesh and Khorne and Zench. I want to make a Chaos Undivided army led by Archaon. Cool. You could take the Everchosen keyword, which Archaon has, but not everything else will have that. You can just go Chaos, and you get the generic Chaos abilities to go with that allegiance, and you can include anything you like from that Grand Alliance. Absolutely anything. Obviously, you've got to have your battle line, which becomes more basic. But if you're willing to do that for the sheer breadth and possibility that would bring you,
yeah, you could theoretically field an army composed of one of every single unit type of the entire Order faction.
And going back to the collections you said you have already, I mean, you've got Dwarfs, Empire, and High Elves.
Yes.
I think they're all Order factions, so you could just take that as an army.
They are, yes.
So that's the other thing. So I'm not Age of Sigmar, and I decide I'm going to go Dwarfs. I'm going to go Kharadron Overlord. I mean,
awesome.
I know that there was one point Age of Sigmar I just cannot be at.
Well, have these steampunk hot air balloon dwarfs.
Yep. I think looking at it, I don't think the range I'm not, and that is Borok Grundlson. It's the hat, the armored top hat.
Yes.
I mean,
oh yeah.
As someone's a pith helmet, I do, and I love the fact he has beard. that does appeal. So
I think, to be honest, if it's literally one model that you're having a problem with, you're doing pretty well.
yeah, the rest of them, they look a bit derpy with the way the airships are, but I think they're adorable. I
think they're kind of supposed to be.
Yeah. So it's. I mean, I look on for Carriage and Skylords a bit lost in the woodsy. So that might be
okay. They're separatist dwarfs who are floating among the clouds, looking for bits of gold that was their god before he exploded.
Yeah, that
kind of makes sense.
And they're mercenaries.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
In fact, most dwarves are mercenaries now because they insist on getting paid in ether gold, which is their god that exploded.
Yep.
Okay, cool. And looking at the characters element to them, I especially like the Etheric Navigator. I think particular.
Yeah.
I think I'm edging towards Sargent Overlords.
Yeah, there's a pretty good split between kind of a bit more techie and proper old school, woods, wizards, and fantasy.
I'd say so.
Like the Carrion Overdrawers, you got that, like you said, the nice steampunk aesthetic, slightly derpy looking, but charming in a way. And then you've got Skaven, which are basically mad scientist steampunk with, lightning in bottles, and it's as unstable as it looks.
And then you've quite literally got the woods.
Yeah.
Which is the Sylvaneth.
So, I mean, his main lady, I mean, if she comes out, rides a giant bloody beetle.
Alarielle.
Alarielle, there we go, yeah.
She's my favourite.
And she's cool.
She's bloody awesome. She is literally a god. That's one of the other things I think that I like about Age of Sigmar over 40k.
Oh, yes.
Is that even though 40k has Primarchs, they are nothing compared to the fact that you get to field an actual god in Age of Sigmar.
Yeah. No, basically, if you were... Well, they say I think fluff-wise it's if your soul was strong enough. What it means is if your character was popular enough, you get to come back as a god. And what they produced with Nagash, I think they overcompensated to make up for the terrible model he had before.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because he does now have the most magnificent of Pope hats.
Yes. And he also has a ton of books surrounding him.
Yes.
A huge swirly vortex of soul.
He's got they're the 13 tomes of Nagash.
Yep.
They're all of them. These are things that, countries have died to find one of. Reading a few pages of it resulted in the scourge of vampirism afflicting the planet. And this is all of them floating around this one guy.
Nice. I mean, I'm just the death stuff now. And you were right, for the Nagash model came out for it's a glorious model.
Yeah.
It may have come out during the end times for fantasy, but I think it was built ready for Age of Sigmar.
Yeah, I think the Night Haunt. Those again, I am going to be an order player. It's just my mentality. They are very creepy, and actually probably could.
Oh yeah,
probably get a Night Haunt bashed out.
Yeah, this is my favourite picture of Nagash.
D4 channel link, always a bit.
Yeah, it's just a picture. It's not a trap, I promise.
Pictures can be traps.
Jesus Christ!
Yeah. That's Nagash now. Oh, and that pyramid behind him, it floats and it's upside down. So
I'm just using this excuse to
Mm-hmm.
Ask the questions I know.
But if it's the questions you're asking, then it's quite possibly questions listeners are asking as well, if they're not into it yet.
Yeah.
So, with one of the armies I've kind of half started. Empire people.
Yeah, they're the Free Guild now, which haven't really had a lot in the way of new stuff. I think because they're kind of the Empire as a thing has kind of died a death.
Gone. Yeah. They're but basically the Imperial citizens who got Sigmar saved their souls and stuff. They're living in the Wind of Heavens. They're not really part of an army. They don't need the tanks and stuff because the most worthy of them, or those who volunteer in some cases, are the Stormcast Eternals. And they ride things called Star Drakes. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think the Free Guild still have a lot of good options. I know a guy who plays a really tight Free Guild army, and it's really quite a terror to take on. Yeah, I got lost in terror. Yeah, it's quite a nightmare to take on and try and break. But he finds it fun, and it looks cool. Free Guild do still have some good options, and Games Workshop have made the effort into making them still a viable choice. But because they're not a new faction, they haven't got anything new to play with.
Yeah, they haven't got a battle tome. But if you get the Grand Alliance Order book, which kind of has all the default order things in it, they're in there.
Yeah, I think the CLs and stuff like the Lawfrian Skycutter.
Oh, the Idenef Deepkin.
No, I'm talking about. I'm talking.
Oh, okay, the Corsairs and stuff like that. Or...
Yeah, Lawfrian.
Oh,
Seaguard.
right. Yes, Lothlorien Seaguard. Cool.
Huh.
Again, I'm kind of the Dragon Princes of Kalandor being they're super arrogant to me is in their in a way that Eldar never have, as in they always came across as the best hope for the world. So incredibly arrogant.
Well, that was partly because they did kind of save the world. Because in sorry, this is lore again. In Old Fantasy, I mentioned that magic sink that was sucking away all the magic? Yeah, the elves did that.
Oh, cool. I'm not as big a lore guy as you, but that gets me through it. It's what inspires. It's
all the stuff behind like the Dragon Prince of is it Kalandor or something like that? I can't remember exactly. It used to be that they all rode dragons and stuff, but because all the magic was kind of fluey and dragons are related to that, more and more of the dragons were just going to sleep and not waking up. So they transferred to riding horses, but they kept all the arrogance of riding a dragon. Then the end times rolled around, and the magic came roaring back because the portal shut down, and all the dragons woke up. So, yeah.
That must have been an awkward conversation for those riders. Like, I see you have a horse now? What the hell, man? I thought we had a thing going. I got to sleep for like a couple of 100 years.
So, with humans, how do I go about finding the lore? Stuff like the IFNF King, which don't get all.
I think if you just want, if you want to know the lore and have a good laugh at the same time, read 1D4chan.
Fair enough.
Yeah,
no, seriously, that'll cover pretty much everything.
I think what also confused, how you build an army out of them. So, like, they'd split them into.
Yeah. I think that is the problem that a lot of people will face going from Fantasy to Age of Sigmar if they have a lot of the older armies. I'm not sure why they did that and why they haven't rectified it since. That's one of the bugbears I have with Age of Sigmar, is that for the older armies they have to split them into arbitrary factions.
Yeah.
You can still make a viable order army out of them. The splitting down into factions only makes a difference if they've got allegiance abilities associated with a particular keyword.
Okay.
Or if you go specifically for just that keyword, if you get anything special as your battle line. For example, I know the Dragon Princes are part of one particular keyword. It wouldn't surprise me if you went only that particular keyword, that they would become battle line. But I'm not sure if that is the case. But that's the kind of feel that goes for. That doesn't let you have
I think most of the high elf stuff have the highborn keyword now.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And they've got pretty much all their units.
But since they don't have their own allegiance ability, they just have the order allegiance ability.
Which is not a terrible one.
No.
Like people do that when you haven't got like a great like unique thing, but you don't need it. The basic ones are fine.
Yeah.
Unique ones are different, but I don't have a unique one for Scryer. I just use the
I thought you did now.
Do I now? That'd be a pleasant surprise if I do.
You've got artifacts and stuff now as well, I'm sure of it.
Okay, cool. I will have to check that out. I've clearly fallen behind. But I didn't used to.
No, you didn't used to. That wasn't that's a relatively new thing. I think Soul Wars.
Yeah. So I just used to use the Chaos ones. And the Chaos ones are fun.
Okay. So I don't think I've got any armies in my head now. It's either go Carriage and Overlords, which have their own battle, probably elves. If I play elves,
sorry, go on.
Is there a competitive? I don't want to go. I'm going to get into Age of Sigmar. Oh, you've gone for the how is the balance between?
I don't think that. I don't think there is a broken army in Age of Sigmar at the moment. I think with the right rules, lawyering, and shenanigans, you can theoretically break any of the armies, but that just makes you a dick. So most people don't do that.
Yeah, pretty much. Just looking, because I've got the app on here, just looking for the allegiance abilities. I will have to revise my previous comment about the Free Peoples. They do have their own allegiance abilities.
Cool.
A lot of them got added in the new General's Handbook.
Awesome.
And I think if you went elves, again, like Mataspore says, you would have to be very good at rules lawyering, or just be really good at finding those little broken combinations in order to play something horribly OP. At the same time, there are units that are not as good as other units, but the good units do cost more points. And in Age of Sigmar, whereas it used to be a case of you play until one person's wiped out, most games now have a 5-turn limit, and it's objectives that matter.
Okay.
Can still be tabled. There's a bit of... I've never found it in the rules. There is a bit of conjecture from the community and other people that I've played with around whether or not tabling is an auto loss if you're the one that's tabled, or if it's a case of totting up the objectives at the end of it, because at the end of the day, an army can be wiped out to a man, but so long as it achieved its objectives, it's still classed as a win for the higher battle, for the higher war. So it depends on your school of thought on that, I think, and what your local group play.
Some good ideas to think of, and you've certainly turned the dial for me from. Okay, I'm interested. Cleared my painting queue a little.
Hooray!
Then I might. I've got the Carriage and Overlord start collecting box, which does kind of appeal. So yeah, thank you very much for that, you guys. And as we are coming up to the hour and a half mark, this down a bit. I think so. Thank you.
That works for me.
Okay.
Cool. Thank you very much, sport.
Always a pleasure.
Yeah,
Thank you.
that's fine. Look forward to doing it again.
This has been the AstraCast. Because I'll be playing around with. I'll try and put good episodes out.
This is AstraCast episode number. Insert number here.
I'll make sure I do the number. It's really all. But it's. I think I won't say anything more. But,
spoilers.
Right, spoilers. So I am now going to tell good old Craig to.
Bye, Craig.